Hey gamers, this week we're giving away basically your choice of a cool Conquest set. You can choose either the 2-player starter set or one of the single-player starter sets. We're just going to make it your choice. Conquest this last week have announced their new skirmish rules that are free for you to download and give a try to. They're looking really good, by the way. If you want to be in with a chance of winning that, all you have to do is drop a comment on this video. Make sure you hit subscribe, smash that like button. My kids tell me that's the way to say that now. And then finally, if you can, it's always a massive help for us if you can share this video with a friend that's into gaming and wants to have their weekend start now. Hi guys, and welcome to the Weekender. A big week ahead of us. So, Ben, what is our indie of the week?
Well, the indie of the week that we're looking at this time around was something that we talked about a little bit last weekend on the XLBS Cult of Games show. And it's something that we immediately looked at, and then Lloyd was like, whoa.
If I may interrupt, this is the legendary XLBS Cult of Games show, where during the show we planned this week's show.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you'll find most of that has actually come through. But there we go. So,
well done us.
Yeah. But this was one that we were looking at, and Lloyd was like, hold on a second, we're going to have to look at this properly.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be looking at the Warmonger Miniatures collection. So this is the sort of fantasy element of the stuff provided by Wargames Factory and stuff as well. So yeah.
Well, it's Wargames
Foundry.
Wargames
Foundry.
Sorry, okay, so there's a story to this, Jerry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like one indie of the week, but kind of two indies of the week, or what's the connection here?
Essentially, Wargames Foundry is Brian Ansell, he who helped start up Games Workshop for all intents and purposes, and whenever he sold up and left, he took certain ranges with him to Wargames Foundry that GW didn't want to produce, or the licensing belonged to Brian himself. And this was a mixture of some historically things like ninjas and bits and pieces, and also a variety of fantasy elements. There wasn't a huge amount of fantasy.
This is Wargames Foundry we're looking at here.
Yeah, so Foundry is the main site, which is where all the historic live. But they have a sister company where they separated out the fantasy stuff a couple of years ago into Warmonger, started producing things that hadn't seen the light of day in some time. There's even some little nuggets in there that never made it to release when they belonged to Citadel and Games Workshop. And then they've continued to expand the fantasy range, so they're getting new stuff sculpted. The historic ranges are particularly big and chunky, but I don't think they've had anything new sculpted for them since Steve Sala did sort of Romans about 10, 15 years ago.
Back over on Foundry, because look at the Ancients alone in the Dark Age. We think we might have covered Foundry, so we're not going to go into detail.
This indie of the week is going to cover the Warmonger.
It's going to cover Warmonger Miniatures, which is
so all you Oldhammer fans are going to wet your pants.
Very much so, yeah.
Because I'm just looking at this stuff.
Saga Age of Magic fans.
Saga and a bit of magic.
Yeah, right. Well, let's get stuck in.
So, it's
got to be orcs.
I think so. This is what prompted it. So if people weren't watching the XLBS, Lloyd had found some slightly out of focus miniature that he held up in front of the camera, and I immediately identified because that's how I see all miniatures all the time. So I think it was actually from the War Orcs, but the Orc section itself, I have some of these. It's an amazing range, simply because they have this Landsknecht look to them. They've got a Renaissance feel. They're not fur-clad barbarians. These are orc fighters who have a bit of bling about them, a bit of gold behind them, and as such look absolutely fantastic. And there's a few ranges out there in the world where orcs don't look like knuckle-dragging, cave-dwelling monsters, but this I think is one of the certainly the most colourful that you can go with, and in amongst them you have things like there's two-handed swords, there's the muskets and rifles. My particular favourite is there's a jester, a little goblin jester kicking around, who's got like a punch from Punch and Judy puppet on him.
So is this kind of like your 100 Years War kind of?
Yeah, they're very much that neck of the woods for the actual color and style of clothing on them. So, and you get that feel because when you're painting an orc and you're painting everybody green skinned, being able to go for a riot of colors just looks spectacular. Now, would you want to do that on several hundred orcs? Possibly not, but then would several hundred humans in the same sort of outfit for historics? You get the same issue. But
I don't know.
You can go
like on last week's
in.
XLBS. I was talking about what I was doing hobby wise. Was it last week or was it the week before? The week before, and I had painted some trousers like this, some pants. And
stripy pants.
45 minutes just to paint the pants, and they didn't even look anywhere near as good as that.
But then they're helped because the sculpt on that will be actual lines to make it look like slashed silk. On the miniatures.
Is it?
Yep. So that's the joy of Renaissance fighting. I also like that they've all got the old style of, yes, they have a code because these days it's easier to pick, I'm sure, but being able to go in and go, what's that miniature? That's Daft Death Fart, the Psycho Bungle, the Jolly Jester, or Parn Bub Maggot Licker. They are ridiculous names, and I love every single one of them.
So the thing that I liked when I saw these was it kind of reminded me of the sort of Dogs of War style orcs that you would have got in Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
Sort of like all the mercenaries that tended to end up working for humans for whatever reason, and then got sort of drafted into Stallion armies or something like that.
Yeah, but these guys are just a dream to write a backstory for, right? So say you're doing like a Mordheim kind of a thing, or even an RPG. These guys are a band of orcs that have literally taken over a Kingdom of Man town and just started wearing their shit.
Just start wearing come in one morning, chase or eat all the humans out, and then just decide to stick around, and then get very confused when local farmers and merchants and traders get to the edge of the village and then see them up close and turn around and run off screaming. I can't understand why the economic viability of their town isn't working out for them.
These are more of your sort of typical orcs, though.
This is the war orcs we've moved into here.
Yeah. And these are more barbarous. I'm not going to say they're completely barbarian because they're not, because they're still wearing bespoke things. They have a very nautical or very pirate feel to them. With
that's him. That's the one I have. The guy standing right there with the spear.
Oh yeah,
find him.
Go.
You need to find the rest of the catapult now for that.
You were right. I still can't get over that. Holding up this miniature that wasn't even in focus, and Jerry goes, "Warmonger."
Tragic, really.
Moment in tabletop history, that one.
I'm one step away from people dropping boxes of matches on the ground in front of me. 47, definitely 47. And again, there will be certain poses where they've used it as like a dolly and made 2 or 3 variations of it. So there is a certain similarity between them, but there's still an awful lot of character in them. Not just in the faces, but the shields, because you have a variety of shields from sort of standard or Turkish looking things with a spike in the middle to these outrageous looking, I suppose. I'm going to go out and live and say evil sun looking shield, because I think everybody knows where that's come from.
Look at this one with alien greys.
Yeah,
Well, look at this one. Look at the faces.
You're quids in on the aliens then. Yeah. You can update and adapt your alien grey for fantasy as well. Then.
Yeah,
I love this range. It's just beautiful.
It's just so characterful. That's the thing. Like you can tell there's sort of like a lot of love that's gone into these and stuff over the years. It's very cool.
What a collection to have.
Oh my goodness!
There's 6 pages for the War Orcs. It's one of their bigger collections.
Holy moly!
Now, obviously, we could spend a lot of time in here and then skip the dwarves because it's an equally large collection.
Yeah, no, I don't want to skip. I don't want to skip.
Whoa.
Let's get a collection going here. I want to see.
I love those warlords. They're so cool. Yeah. Vast Thrashlock. Fearsome Courtulash. Very cool.
Garganogathog, Goat Strangler.
Big belcher.
Nearsighted Norrigon.
Right, let's move on from the orcs. Okay,
the names in themselves.
I am sold on the orcs. I wonder, do they do any kind of like package deals or anything like that? That would be kind of cool. So
I haven't seen it. I know they do them for some of the historics. They do regiment sets, and they're like, I don't know if I've seen them.
I don't see like bundles in there.
There is a Saga Age of Magic button. I wonder if that gives us sets. Maybe
I think that's more where they've gone in and plucked out things that would be.
These are specifically good for that kind of thing.
Yeah. So here's a warlord, here's a hero. Here would be a unit of 6 or a unit of 4 for Hearthguard or warriors.
Cherubs
to be.
Goodness me.
Okay, dwarves.
Okay, dwarves.
Norse dwarves.
Okay,
amazing. Ben. Yeah. The thing I liked about these when I first saw them is they kind of remind me a little bit of the obviously sort of Oldhammer dwarves that you get from Citadel and stuff, but they also have kind of got that kind of Discworld feel to them as well. Like they remind me of the artwork from the fronts of those books and that kind of thing and stuff. Just sort of waddling around with no knees.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And the thing about it is, whenever the dwarves went to plastic in Oldhammer, in Warhammer, they lost a little bit of their character. Just a tiny bit of their character. That these certainly still have. It's
like one of the I was going to say one of the defining pieces of sort of artwork that I've always liked to represent Warhammer Dwarves is one by Adrian Smith, where it's got like one of the heroes standing in front of like a line of iron breakers, and these miniatures kind of match that style of artwork in a really nice way, which I think is really good. Obviously, that then got translated into a different style for some of the characters in the future, but a lot of this kind of old school look of the dwarves.
The other thing to bear in mind is that all of these things, like a load of these are all like one-piece metals. So they're going to have that beautiful heft and, the strength. The only thing I think you're adding is potentially the shields with a wee dollop of glue.
Probably, yeah.
But I think in most cases they are one-piece casts, which
can we move past the dwarves, Ben? Do I have your permission now to move on from the dwarves?
There are some like pirate dwarves as well.
All right, okay, so I don't have your permission to move on from the dwarves.
No, you don't.
Okay.
A mighty dwarf Farthorn needs to be looked at.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
Farthorn. Okay. Yeah.
I put it to you for something called a farthorn that he is blowing into that from the wrong end. I'm just saying.
Well, you don't know what's meant to be modelled on the other end, though.
Yeah, because it's very what do they call it? It's not the Matterhorn in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Helm Hammerhand's horn.
Yes, and he sounds like a dwarf right off the bat. Yeah. You can see that being stuck to the side.
Oh, I like him.
Like dwarf wizards.
I like that little dwarf wizard.
Back when dwarves actually cast spells.
So. easy tiger.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. What, sorry? Yeah. It does look a bit gnomish,
Yeah, on his mother's side. if you go to the very last page of the dwarves, before we leave these ones completely, just because it has one of my favourite, which is the Ingfred, the dwarf Santa-looking fellow with the massive guitar, who looks like he's just had a very bad day and is now going to take it out on whoever stopped basking for a living.
Very cool. Just quickly, if you go onto the dwarves thing, you'll see pirate dwarves and then swashbuckler dwarves. That's it.
Swashbuckler dwarves.
So yeah, very cool. If you're looking for something a little bit more quirky, so I thought it was really nice. And again, a little bit more Discworldy, which I think is really fun there. I'm definitely going to be looking at this selection to make a little dwarven Mordheim warband. I think these would be really nice as treasure hunters. So yeah. It'd be very good.
The ranges are great. I mean, you could literally field an entire warband without a repeated model.
Yeah.
Yes.
What of them there are.
Yeah.
You'll see that throughout all of the ranges. The trolls are particularly big.
And very, very old hammer as well.
Oh, incredibly so. Yeah. The fact they have the equivalent of like a Doom Diver catapult in here as well, where a load of goblins are launching themselves on hang gliders towards the enemy. And they've got an option where your troll can be winging one like a paper plane.
Where's that down here?
On the right-hand side.
Yeah, so the top right. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's such a good alternative to a normal one. Yeah.
I want it so bad.
Now that is a miniature you need to pin.
Yeah.
Although it's got pretty good connection points, actually.
And while they do say they are trolls, they're on the bigger side of trolldom. Because I think they're on like 50 mil bases. They're more like giants in many respects.
Yeah, gigantic troll. There you go.
Jerry, I want to add them to Star Wars lore. Okay? I want those guys on Endor chucking my little Ewoks.
Flicking Ewoks around the place. Yeah. Makes sense.
Could I get away with that, Jerry? Could I get away with that? How would I have those guys on Endor?
Cover them with static grass. Flock them.
Flock them. Flock them to death.
But yeah, there's a distinctly Oldhammer feel about the style of the sculpts. Obviously,
the proportions and that
obviously
kind of
some of them are genuine Oldhammer because they come from Citadel and Marauder. And these are more troll-sized trolls. Yeah, they haven't changed the style and feel of the miniatures. So those gigantic trolls are relatively new compared to some of the other, and they still have a very very
out of
Oldhammer feel. Yeah.
Okay, go back to the options because I'm actually really interested to see the elves.
You have a few choices in here.
Yeah. So the Revenant elves.
I like.
So these are more like vampire elves.
Like vampire elves.
So not your typical dark elves or anything like that.
Elven guards, I think, are the ones that I want to see. Now, Ben, you did say that there was there's one that is maybe not safe for work.
Well, we've already had the booby warning come up.
All right. Okay. That's fine.
So it doesn't matter now.
I really like these.
These are very cool. Yeah.
These I could add to my my elf army. The
thing I quite like about those is that they've got their elves, but done more in that sort of slightly more Nordic style.
Valkyries.
So like they remind me of that kind of Norse mythology and that kind of thing, which is really cool. And the stuff that's then been done for like Lucid Eye and Red Book of the Elf King and stuff. So
to have a Valkyrie female unit within my elven army would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. A real hard-hitting, fast, kind of skirmishy Valkyrie unit right in the vanguard. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm utterly sold on that. Oh, really sold on that. What other options are within the elves? What was the cherubs are basically just cherubs, yes?
They are just cherubs, yeah.
Yes, just South-African cherubs.
Yeah. Not my cup.
Scariest army ever.
Yeah, that would just be weird. That would just be weird.
What you do is you give them the most ridiculous stat line, though.
Now, the Nymph Warriors, is this a bunch of nudie
they don't scroll down too far.
They get progressively nakeder as you go on, pages upon pages. Yeah. But you can see here,
look, look,
if you have a look at Bronwyn Nightshade.
If you want to check them out, go for it, okay? There's some really interesting...
That's a cool tree, man. I like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff there for you to have a look at. Right, what else is there
there's the goblins as well we haven't seen. So,
well, hang on, do we see? All right, scroll up. No, don't go too quick. Wait. So there's orcs, war orcs, trolls, elves, halflings, beast men. Let's look at the beast men. Okay, what have they got? This will be pretty Oldhammer as well. Like Beastmen go way back, don't they?
Beastmen go way back, but these are more modern because the really Oldhammer Beastman stuff all look like that. Even
what the hell is that?
That's some sort of terrible chimera-like thing.
It looks like something that's been built for the mighty Boosh.
There's more of them if you're digging that. Look.
Wow,
there's more of them.
Oh, they're a thing. They are a thing. Absolutely.
That. But yes, these are mostly the more modern version of Beastmen, where they are just sort of
cloven
faun-esque or satire-esque or whatever way you want to look at them. Not the complete madness that was the old GW Beastmen, where you had men with the head of a fish and people with crab claws and just all sorts of madness. These are more, I suppose, subtle,
uniform,
and more cohesive as far as the madness goes, but still very good nonetheless. And if you wanted to throw this in with some ancient Greeks as a
Yeah, you could do that.
As
cool.
fantasize your historic faction. You know, you could do that.
Oh, Jerry, that's a...
Oh, wait a minute.
That's a really
cool.
good idea.
I've just seen ones called the Beast Brute Slayers or something. They look cool. Brute Slayers.
We'll come
on
back
that top
to
row.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very keen on them. And a good range of weaponry, whether it's single-handed or double-handed.
I love that idea of taking a Greek army and then adding this to it to take it into your fantasy.
Yeah.
I love this idea of the dual-purposed army, where you've got a historical army, but when you want to take it into a fantasy setting,
just
you can
plunk some creatures in.
Sprinkling of units into it.
And there's two ways you could look at it. You could either go, well, instead of taking levies as being my Dunger humans, maybe I'll take a load of beastmen as my throwaway troops, or maybe the humans are the throwaway troops and the beastmen are the elites in your force.
It's like
depends how you want to.
Like your beast version of 300.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Do any of these beastmen come with spears or pikes? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, there's a few of the smaller
spears.
The ones that would be called, I guess you'd call them ungors nowadays, I guess.
Yeah.
Just thinking you could phalanx these bad boys, it's
oh, I like that. Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah.
Look at all the faces. So many people to skin, so little time.
I'm beast-manned out, right? What else?
Do you want to have a look at X-Citadel?
Yes, can we have a look at X-Citadel, Lloyd? Because the new stuff is probably...
The new stuff is more or less stuff we've already seen, or where they've gone back and reboxed things into a little collection.
For you Frostgrave players, this is your spot. Oh, they go back.
Classic space dudes. Yeah, very nice.
That's almost back to your 2000 AD kind of.
Yeah.
Basically, is there? Yeah.
Where they've evolved from,
and liquidation squads.
Yeah.
The fishmen are nice because everybody likes fishmen, and who doesn't like some sort of terrible thing creeping up on the New England shore and shooting people with whatever unusual Grok gun they have. The Time Warp Wizards are a particular favorite of mine. These are Citadel miniatures that
he looks like the Hero Quest elf.
He does, doesn't he?
Well, these may have been that. These are essentially the Colleges of Magic plus an elf. And they never made it to release when they were at Citadel. Only, I want to say within the past year or so, they finally got round to digging out the molds and producing these. So if you come back out just to the main page, they have them all there individually, so you can pick and choose between them. So you can see up close and personal the various wizards, and they're these are very Pratchett-esque sorcerers.
Yes,
I keep thinking running a Discworld version of Frostgrave would be a lot of fun.
It would be, yeah.
Where you really discify it up and then
I love these
make things much more ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
Screams Imperial Wizard there, doesn't he?
Proper old school Amber Wizard or something.
Yep.
There. It's very nice. Yeah.
Sweet.
Sorry, not Amber, Bright Wizard. Yeah.
Is this molded on?
What else is in the X-Citadel stuff? It's lovely to get a peek back in the history of all of this, isn't it?
That looks molded on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Those are,
that's on, yeah.
See, you don't
You've
have
got your camels and pack horses.
Ex-Citadel Warriors and Warlords as well.
Ex-Citadel Ninja.
The ninjas were doing the round for years, and they were probably the best ninja on the market.
Where's
up
the
until
ninjas?
Down there, the green one.
The green one, hiding in the bamboo forest.
Oh, yeah, cool. Those are pretty nice ninjas.
Up until very recently, when I think Grey for now done a set of ninjas, because a few companies had done them, and they looked really weird and odd, and these old GW ones were still so much better. A bit chunky and a little bit small in comparison to some figures, but when you're playing them around the historic, it's not as noticeable. If you're playing with fantasy, then having little tiny ninjas isn't too bad. The warlords and warriors have got a few famous faces in there. Vlad the Impaler is kicking around in amongst that set. I'm sure other people are knowable. There's Vlad, front left. From that famous painting.
Oh, there he is, yes.
Yeah. Rocking his amazing fez with the big star of Romania on it.
Well,
it's a nice little bunch of
And there's all their names. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
The Teutonic.
So there's John Chandos. That's from
Alan
the Wales War.
Yeah.
Owen
cool.
of Wales. Goodness me.
These do look like they would be on the smaller side, though, like 25-ish, probably.
You know, I have one of the Perrys. I have a Perry's Army from the same period from them, and so yeah, they are true 28mm in that it's 28mm from the sole of their feet to the top of their head. And if people measure to the eyes, then yes, 25. I've never understood why some people go, it's 32mm to the eye. Whoever measures and ignores the top of the head.
They really just like looking to the eyes of their miniatures. That's
strange.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at another area.
Elves. Oh, not elves. Sorry, goblins. I meant elves.
Goblins.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
goblins big range, is it?
Christmas.
Goblins is a big range.
Not yet.
You may recognize Undead Santa.
What? It's never too early for this. Look at this.
Okay, they are awesome. They are awesome.
I like that Undead Santa. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very much the Hogfather.
It is Hogfather, yeah.
That's sweet.
If they cut themselves,
here's
it
Jerry.
would be a valuable lesson. It goes to the Christmas present. I dimly remember when it was released. I think it was limited at the time. You could only get it.
Exactly. You thought it was being nutty coming into flipping Christmas, you know? I think I have that guy.
Yeah, I'll give you one. I give Gary one.
It'll get painted
never to bring
in
the if he promised never to bring the square hill back. He painted it and still used the square hill.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, I love these. Do you know what? For a bit of
pantomime figure,
is that Rent-A-Ghost?
That's not far.
You know what? For a bit of Christmas RPG, wouldn't that be amazing?
There is a Christmas RPG as well.
Oh, there is a Christmas RPG. Oh, brilliant! I love it.
I see what you did there. Wow.
Oh, these are great.
Mm.
These are super cool. Okay.
I'm all Christmas down.
Right, go to Undead for me, and then we'll go to Goblins.
Yeah, Undead's relatively small as far as I remember.
Skellies. Proper old school Skellies, Lloyd.
And not just fantasy Skellies, but a whole variety if you want to do your weird Wild West and things like that. There are zombie gunfighters and the like as well.
I'm digging these chariots. Not so much the first one, but the last two. I really like them.
Look, they've got your favourite coffin lid shields with skulls on them.
That's it, coffin lid shields.
Oh, love it. What else have they got in there?
Archers, all sorts.
They have all the Skellies you need.
John Stern.
You could mix and match a bunch of the different sets they've got with bows and arrows or hand weapons and then make some really interesting. That's great. I love the guy with his head upside down as well.
Yeah.
It's desperately trying. It's very Army of Darkness. Desperately trying to put
look at that dude with the wheels.
Oh yeah.
That's what happens when a necromancer gets very bored in his dungeon. What am I going to do today?
Oh, I want that dude with the wheel. That would be an amazing Skelly to meet down a dungeon, wouldn't it? Oh man. Oh, I am utterly lost in these. These are just amazing.
Three pages.
Three pages. The last page is only a couple of entries, but as they go through, you'll see other things appearing. So like you'll hit the zombie gunfighters or scarecrows.
This lady's kicking around on the shelves behind me.
Is she?
Yeah. I don't know where she is at the minute, but I got this one. I think I got this thing kicking around.
So the Witch's Coven, that's from your... Where does the three witches come from? Is that Henry the
Macbeth? Macbeth, yeah.
But you're not supposed to say that.
All right, sorry.
That's all right. Macbeth.
Oh, crossbows.
Oh, I love these. Oh, they're very apt for at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. Bring out your dead.
Yeah.
Let's see what's on page 2. More archers, more swordsmen, some
more armored skeletons.
Oh, animated scarecrows, Lloyd.
Where?
Just
there we go.
Yeah.
That is.
Oh, and then ghosts. I want to see the ghosts after that. Oh, I love these. Oh, this is a gold mine, this site. Flip me.
The thing that I'm interested in terms of like, do they have all this just in stock, or do they just do it to order? Or
go to Ghost for me, please.
If they don't have it in stock, they'll normally cast it up.
Where?
Now,
right. Yeah.
I don't know how, because they cast in house.
Right.
Frost.
Up
The
with
one that
the way,
says Ghosts on it, Lloyd. Down one.
Oh, there we go.
while they're fighting that, while we've been going through the event, Remain Indoors, I do know that some places have been having difficulty in sourcing materials
Right.
to get things cast. So it may be a case of contacting them in advance and seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But normally they keep fairly good stocks of everything, and then because they would run things like Bring Out Your Lead is run at Wargames Foundry, where you can go and play like old, like 3rd edition Warhammer, old games, and bask in the original collections that adorn the walls. It's like a museum of Games Workshop past.
We got some Crusaders here, bit the dust.
Well, they knew the risks when they went to the land over the sea.
What did you think of your Ghosts one? This guy here. Yeah, that's really cool.
The guy on the left's cool. I also like the guy in the middle. I think he's neat with sort of like the arms up. That's really awesome. Yeah.
I like the really small one with the lantern floating. It's like Orko or whatever.
It is like Orko, yeah.
Well, right. Now, before you jump into the goblins, okay.
Greeks.
Oh, there they are. Look at those.
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yes, they do sell Jason and the Argonauts on the historic pages of Wargames Foundry. Yeah. So you can recreate that Harryhausen scene if you want.
That just has to be done, though, doesn't it?
Oh,
right. Before you go on to the goblins, Lloyd, I just want to look, because it's a big top menu there, right?
Yes.
So what is bovine beast men? Right at the very end, the very last option down at the bottom, right?
Well, there's only 2 in here. So we can
man! Oh, dude! These are awesome. Oh, come on. Cowmen. Proper.
Those are nice. Yeah.
Absolute cowmen. Okay, I'm glad we clicked on that. Right, let's have a look at the... right, what other options are there? What is under other?
Oh, my goodness.
Everything.
Dinosaurs. Go into dinosaurs. 4 from the bottom. Right, guys, welcome to the Warmonger the Warmonger Weekender.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, goodness me.
Oh, it's just big birds.
It's all big birds.
Yeah, if you want to do your Moa birds and that sort of thing. If you go,
this looks like the daddy. Do you remember from Dinosaurs, the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Earl.
Yeah.
Earl. That's him. Yeah. Okay.
That's an important thing I need to remember.
Other thing, do we see what else there was?
If you have a look in special editions when you're in there.
Other special editions.
Yeah.
And this, they used to do, like a lot of companies do these days, where they do a limited edition of the month type of thing. Foundry used to do them back in the mist of time as well, and they were, here and gone type of thing, but they've been resurrected for this, so you can lay your hands on them. So obviously we've seen some of the
Christmassy ones,
the Christmassy ones already.
Something Halloweeny as well. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a squid man. Yeah, like a Cthulhu fella. So.
There is Ozzy the Bat Eater.
Yeah,
which is perfect for Halloween.
What are the demons, Lloyd? There was demons.
The guy with the jack-o'-lantern was the dude who was the
too late.
Bat Eater.
He's never coming up now.
It's gone now. That's in the past.
Yeah.
I gotta get the winged demons.
Little wingeling demon.
Oh, they're fabulous.
Hard to feed though. Look at this guy. 2 months.
It's for when your eyes are bigger than your belly.
Oh, I love these.
They're the kind of things that you now see worked into terrain by people who used to play Warhammer back in the day.
The collectible box sets.
These are just things they have put, slapped together and then stuck things in. See the
Rule Britannia.
Rule Britannia. I think that is going to have Queen Victoria with a shotgun, if memory serves.
It does.
It does. And
Boadicea, is that Boadicea that's in there, or it's
that's Britannia herself.
Britannia.
Weirdly, Sherlock Holmes is there now. I got him years ago, and he was in a blister with him and Dr. Watson. So I don't know if Dr. Watson mold has gone the way of the dodo, or what's happened. That Sherlock has been split away from his good companion,
his Bobby. Well, put with a Bobby now. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
The Rippers, Lloyd.
Go to the Rippers, right across there, yeah.
And these are Jack the Ripper period. So
a whole selection of them.
Some of them may or may not be Jack the Ripper.
Jack himself, yeah.
They'd be good for your sort of West Wind stuff.
Kevin Dallimore in the middle.
Well, he has painted most of these, I think.
Occasionally, yeah, because I know Kev Adams has got at least one, if not two, of himself kicking around. Occasionally, they do work their way in there.
Right. Let's see. We're going to do these goblins. Or what?
Let's do the goblins. Let's do the goblins.
So much stuff in there.
Yeah.
And these are mostly
Goblin.
You know, the man who started all, the man who more or less defined what a goblin was for fantasy wargaming.
Yeah.
Kev Adams. So
cool.
Did them for Heartbreaker, did them for GW.
Wow.
Angry little fellas. That's lovely. I guess that's where the image of the squig came from as well.
Yes.
Sort of building on that shield design. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, this guy. He's on the whale.
He's been on the mushroom.
Happy little goblins.
Use them as objective markers and stuff.
There's a goblin torturing a dwarf somewhere in this collection.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great because they have him tied down and they're shaving his beard off. Which, as we all know, is the worst thing that could happen to a dwarf.
That's the worst thing that could happen to a dwarf, yeah.
Well, it did start an entire war back in Warhammer. So.
The worst thing that could happen is he could have it waxed off. I did see a YouTube video of someone waxing his beard, and I was like, nope.
Well, there he is there.
There's the torturing dwarf.
Goblins torturing dwarf, bottom right.
Okay, yeah. Up. Oh. There we go.
Poor fella. Oh, no.
Look how upset he is. Chained to the rock of
no, there's a goblin peeing into a bucket of bugmans as well.
Yes, there is.
Oh, no. You know what? I would use those in Blood Bowl. I think that would be brilliant for that.
And two feathers there because the dwarf's got his boots off, so occasionally you can just tickle him as well. How many ways can you annoy dwarf? So many ways.
What an awesome characterful little selection that is. That's really cool.
I didn't even look at the chariots. I love looking at one chariot. I do like this thing again. We'll look at that again. Yeah. This thing here was awesome. Gotta get me one of those.
Massive stone thrower.
All very fitting for October as well. This. So.
Yeah. Which goblins was this? Was this the extremists or the normal goblins?
No, these are the normal ones.
I go to the extremists then.
I don't know. The extremists. Kev Adams.
Are they just orcs? Oh no, they're just like big, massive, muscular goblins. Yeah.
Wow. No, this
that would be your like fanatic-y-esque.
Yeah.
These guys have been gobbling all the food they can get. Yeah. Get to this side.
See what you've done.
These are like goblins on their way to Orkhood here, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, it was.
They're sinister-looking men, aren't they?
They used to be called the goblinoid races.
Yeah.
Because goblins were the tip of the pyramid. Orcs were just dumb brutes who were made to fetch and carry. Like to fight? Great. Stand in front of us then.
I'd love to come up with a backstory for them. Right. Yeah. Guys, it was quite an Indie of the Week, but I think it deserved it. Oh, God, we didn't even go into the halflings.
No, we didn't even scratch the surface.
No.
But enough. Definitely go and check them out. That is Warmonger Miniatures.com. An incredible range, and if you're into your Oldhammer or your dungeon crawling or your RPGs, you're going to find stuff in there that is just going to blow your mind. Right, I think it's time to cover just a little bit of news. Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe, covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Cool, yeah, so we're diving into some news and starting off with Games Workshop to begin with. They had their preview that went up over the weekend. They talked about things like Blood Bowl and some other bits and stuff for Necromunda as well. But the main thrust of what we were looking at over the weekend was to do with Warcry and Warhammer Underworld, so lots of stuff to do with the Mortal Realms and Age of Sigmar.
So no Mordheim then?
No Mordheim, sadly. But there's some stuff that they've basically done which kind of makes Age of Sigmar into a Mordheim-y sort of setting, which is pretty cool. So leading the way, we have a new starter set coming out for Warcry. Again, it's one of those sets that we have seen before, back in the annals of time before the age of COVID. And this is
I remember complaining about this one. Yes.
Yes, this is the new Catacombs set, which sort of takes the fight into the realm of Ashki, the realm of fire, and down into the depths, where the Scions of the Flame, who are a selection of cultists who worship fire itself, are going up against the Cainite Shadow Stalkers, who have been soul-bound to Marathi in order to do her will. There's a lot of flamey, floaty things going on with both of these factions. The Scions of Flame obviously are clad in all that sort of badass-looking black armor, which I think is really cool with all the red. And then, of course, there is all the fire that is sort of oozing off them at the same time.
Yeah,
I think these are pretty awesome models.
Does fire ooze? Does fire ooze?
It does now.
Can do,
so, yeah. The fire oozed forth. There you go. That's my. I'm doing NaNoWriMo next month, so I've got to get something right on this. So, yeah.
I'm tempted, actually, since to maybe go in with somebody on that kit. If you go up
this
to the
kit,
top,
the one that you slagged off so much, Sam.
The one that I slagged off so much. So I'd be tempted to go in on it, okay, and I would take the board for some Hero Quest because it's got squares on it. It'll work perfect for that. And it is a nice looking board from that perspective. And I'd maybe take the doors. So I'd take the board and the doors, Miss Ford. And then whoever I'm with then can have all the rest of it.
I mean all the rest of it. The board and the doors is 90%.
Yeah. Well, it leaves people with all the scenery.
They can have all the miniatures.
And the models.
They can have all the scenery. Yeah. All I would want would be the board and the doors. Which to be fair, they're the bit that's a bit rubbish.
I just want the dice. I think they'd bake well.
The dice are very cool.
Oh, you bake them ones, would you?
But yeah, so as I was saying, you've got. Sorry.
I was trying to work out what way they'd put the special symbol, whether it was on the ones or the sixes, or had they combined it. Because they sometimes want to do it, and I couldn't see any ones. And then I spotted one of the
there is a one. So it's on the six then. Yeah.
So you see it in victory rather than defeat, which is always better, I think. But yeah, so you've got the Scions of the Flame, who are these sort of cultists who worship fire. Again, it's sort of flowing into that idea of sort of chaos being represented in the mortal realms in very different ways than you'd normally think. So they've really focused on the idea of these cults that aren't obviously chaos worshippers, but in actual fact really are. I think it's really cool. And it's something that they did with Warcry when it first came out. I thought it was really nice.
Isn't it interesting, right? When you think back to the start of the show and us and on over Brian Ansell's minis, right? In OnTableTop 6.0. So out there today, there's some 12-year-olds looking at this stuff going, oh, yeah. And in 20, 30 years from now, when we're on Tabletop 6.0, and they'll be on here talking about that as the classic stuff. Won't they?
It's very true.
Yeah.
It is. It's like I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I think I prefer old Brian's stuff. It's like there's just something about it. But
remember
horses for
before
courses,
it became holograms? And we used to have plastic multi-part miniatures.
Well, the other warband that's in that set are the Cainite Shadow Stalkers, who we talked about before. They've gone with this sort of style of, these sort of classic dark elves from the realm of shadow, and they've tried to do this sort of like shadowy cloak thing, sort of effect with the models. And I'm not sure whether or not it works well. I think it will require someone to paint it nicely in order for the effect to come across, because I think otherwise it'll just look like tatty cloaks, which is no bad thing, of course.
Or are they not tatty cloaks? I thought they were tatty cloaks.
They're meant to be living sort of smoke and shadow cloaks that surround the...
when I'm finished painting them, they'll not look like that. They will look like shitty old tatty cloaks.
But yeah, so they're another sort of faction for you to throw into the mix. And this kind of feeds into sort of what they're doing going forward with Warcry. So when Warcry first came out, the sort of focus was just on the Chaos warbands fighting each other for dominion of the realm of Chaos and to bask in the glory of Archaon's gaze. But the guys at Games Workshop have decided to build a bunch of starter sets which combine a whole bunch of miniatures from different sort of elements in order to make warbands for the different Grand Alliances. So if you don't want to just play Chaos, and this is where I have a bit of a problem with this, I'll get into that a little bit later, but if you want to play a warband that isn't chaos, then you can play as one of these and use it to represent the Grand Alliances of order, destruction, death, or destruction if you wanted to as well. So or chaos. So that's the other one. Yeah. The thing that I don't like about this is that I really liked the focused nature of what they were doing when Warcry first came out. I thought it was really cool, and it gave it a little bit more of a sort of like original spin. I can understand why they've done it from a business point of view, because they want to try and make it so that everyone can use all their miniatures in this, etc., etc., etc. And I do like the idea that you can sort of use this to build up your force. But I just liked the narrative that they built around Warcry originally. I thought it was a really cool idea. It just seemed to be a bit of a shame for them to go off in this new direction. But that's just my personal opinion on that matter.
Can you bring back up the picture, Lloydie? And specifically, I want to have a look at the rat box.
Have you seen those really weird rat ogres that they've got in that set?
I'm not seeing really weird rat ogres. I'm seeing really old rat ogres.
They are really old rat ogres.
And I'm wondering, because they have done new ones with armor and different options. Yeah. And I'm wondering if that solely comes down to the number of sprues to go in the box. And they've gone, if we use the new rat ogres, there's too many on a sprue, or there's too many sprues. Whereas if we go and dig out the old rat ogres, we can bring them in there.
Well, I have heard a thing about this. The new rat ogres that were designed for Island of Blood, and they were put onto sprues with other
so you think they're beans?
No, because there was a new set of separate rat ogres that almost like the Ogrins were wearing full armor. They're not there.
Yeah, well, they're warp fiends. They are.
Yes,
so they're slightly different.
So because I can understand the Island of Blood ones being trapped on a sprue with other things that they can't use.
But they were very nice.
But I'm surprised why they haven't used the armored current warp fiend set.
I think it's because they're a bit bigger than a normal rat ogre. Like
in fact,
warp fiends are like
old. Yeah,
like warp fiends are like big chunky mofos. So
what is this? Is this essentially what you're getting in that box then, is it?
So you'll have also things like clan rats and storm vermin stuff as well. But it'll probably just be a new clan rat sprue and then some of the rat ogre sprues, I think, and then you'll be able to make characters based on.
I think that's one sprue gives you that plus the pack masters plus the giant rats.
Yeah, but yeah. In fact,
so there's the sprue there on the left.
I see the sprue.
Yeah. But as I say, they've been doing this thing where you can pick up these new box sets for you to use all these things with. The rules for the different Grand Alliances were originally available just as like little card packs decks, that you could buy. But they're going to be putting them into what you can see here, which are these new books. So they're going to be building books for each of the Grand Alliances, which will have all of the rules for you to make a warband of orcs or goblins, depending on what you wanted to do with it, really. So these books are going to be coming out soon.
Make your Joker warband. So he's an agent of chaos.
So yeah, there's going to be ones for order, destruction, death, and chaos in there. So if you want to step beyond the bounds of what Warcry has already done, then you've got that choice. The other side of things that they've been doing recently, and that's just a little trailer for what we've just been talking about there. But the next thing they've been doing is they've been expanding Warhammer Underworlds, which is their slightly more strategic and streamlined competitive game, which apparently has quite a big following, which is pretty cool. This is the next set in that collection called Diachasm. So this is still set in the Beast Grave of the previous box, but this introduces two new warbands. So you've got a warband of the Lumineth Realm Lords and a warband of the Hedonites of Slaanesh, which are going up against each other in sort of a pretty awesome fashion here. You can see them in that trailer, which is pretty cool. Again, this will also be a good option for those people that are already diving into Warhammer Underworlds. So say, for example, you have any of the past warbands, you can use this and some of the universal cards in your existing decks. And of course, this comes with all those very individual characterful sculpts that we actually quite enjoy. We've talked about them a few times in the past on the show and things. And I really like what they've done with these little sort of packs that are sort of like a window into a faction and potentially leading you on to do something with the army in the future, which I think is pretty cool.
Are these unique then?
Yeah, these are all unique models that come in these sets that aren't available anywhere else apart from in those. They do then release them later on down the line, sort of separate things and stuff. But most of the time,
couldn't get more feet on rocks. It's awesome.
It is one of the things that comes with a lot of the all of the Warhammer Underworld stuff actually, is they all come on scenic bases, so they get proper sculpted bases for all the different miniatures. I'm a particular fan of the Hedonites of Slaanesh from this. I think they're really, really awesome looking and give you some really cool and interesting looking leaders that you could use to, maybe front your warbands in Warcry, for example, or on the tabletop at the head of a larger army too. So yeah.
Just realised that's my Conquest colour scheme.
Is that teal right back again?
It's not even the teal. If you look at the Minotaur in the middle with the purple skin, that's the skin tone I've chosen for all the skin as well.
Everyone's looking at what you're doing, Jerry.
Yeah. Right. Next up, we have some RPG kind of role play mini type things. Bard Song.
Yeah, so Bard Song is a project that is going to be coming up onto Kickstarter at the beginning of November from the guys at Steamforged Games. Mm-hmm. So Bard Song, from what we know so far anyway, is a new board game experience. So it's all going to be sort of like all come in that one big box, but it's going to blend together sort of things like RPG gaming and also sort of choose your own adventure sort of books and stuff that we know in the past. It'll have that kind of dungeon crawling element to it, which I think is pretty cool. And it seems to be the direction that Steamforged have been going of late anyway. They've been building all their encounter sets, which allow you to play things like stuff for D&D 5th edition with big dragons and kobolds. They recently did one for orcs as well with the big frost giant too. And this allows you to play as a bunch of heroes cooperatively working together to fight your way through dungeons and build up your characters and sort of, go on that fantasy journey, but obviously with their new mechanics and that kind of thing as well. Mm-hmm. One of the things they have talked about so far, which I think is pretty interesting, is that dungeons aren't built in a typical way. So there's no one person deciding how a dungeon should be laid out. And there's no book that decides that either. But they're developed procedurally. So a little bit like if you were diving into a roguelike or something like that. When you set up the game, and you can see it here as designed by this mat, you place the entrance on the mat, which is on the left-hand side there. Mm-hmm. And then you build out from that in order to try and find the exit, which is in most cases the opposite side of the game mat, right? Mm-hmm. So your space is limited, but whatever happens within that space is randomly generated by you drawing tiles and drawing cards and what you find. So if you look towards dead ends, then they're dead ends, and you have to go and try and find a different path on the map and that kind of thing.
Does this mean we could look back on ourselves?
Yeah, you can look back on yourself, and you'll find wandering monsters that'll step into tiles that you've already been into and that kind of thing as well.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting because they've solved, and that is a beautiful, elegant solution to an issue I had with Warhammer Quest. So Warhammer Quest had a brilliant dungeon generating system. So for every tile in Warhammer Quest, there was a corresponding card. Okay, so you had your cards for just your normal rooms and corridors, and then you had what were called your kind of like objective rooms. So a separate little set of cards for your objective rooms. And what you did was you decided how big your dungeon was going to be. Okay, so say your dungeon was going to be, you're going into a big dungeon, 15. Okay, I think what you did was you took 10 of the normal, and then took 4 of the normal and drew an objective card and shuffled it into the 4, and then put it at the bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
That 4, and then so you would work your way through the dungeon, and then again. But I really like the elegance of what they've done, where they've said, "Well, actually, what really we'll have, we'll just contain it. We'll get constraints in there. So really, you could generate anything you want, and when you actually make your way across the line, it's done and dusted. It's a lovely solution to an interesting problem in these kind of procedurally generated dungeons.
Because that's the thing that I think that's one of the things that's really fascinating about that is that it kind of it removes that barrier that a lot of people have when they first come to playing a dungeon delver. Whereas, for example, in Gloomhaven, you spend about 20 minutes just setting up the dungeon. They solved that in Jaws of the Lion by putting it in the books and stuff, but by making it this sort of randomly generated thing where everyone's involved in the process of exploring and going off in different directions, it feels a little bit more like a board game like Betrayal at the House of the Hill, where things are organically flowing together, which I think is really nice.
It truly is the pinnacle of exploration, though, in dungeon crawling, this particular kind of thing. Yes. Now, I'm a fan of both, okay? I've become, I've rediscovered my love of, for example, the Hero Quest board, where you have the whole thing and you just basically block entrances and things like that. Because I like the predictability of it. It's easy for kids to get their heads around, and, you know, everything lays out. But I am also, especially with the solution that they've come up with,
a fan of the full-on proper exploration, where as you move, the dungeon kind of unfolds before you.
Yeah,
cool. I wonder how they're going to manage, or if they are going to manage at all, things like the furnishings in a room, the contents of a room, and the likes, because that's where it all can start to spiral.
Well, it doesn't look like this. Like, if you look at the pictures, there's literally no furniture or anything.
Did say that
just what's on the tile, by the looks of it.
They did say that in a future article, because they sort of hinted at it but didn't really go into it. They're going to talk about how treasure is generated and objectives and that kind of thing, which will be pretty interesting to follow. And hopefully we've got 2 or 3 weeks before the Kickstarter actually comes around, so there's plenty of time for us to dive into that. One of the things,
just for you move on, like, would you play this? Like, you put down the tile and then furnish it as well?
Yes. So you'd put down a tile, and then something would tell you what elements would be in there. You drop them in. Yeah. And
so things are generated organically as you go, which is
cool. The whole thing just generates as you move forward.
Doesn't look it doesn't look like they're going down a furniture route, though. It looks like
I doubt there's going to be set on stuff like that. But
if there isn't, then
there's doors, which is cool.
I'm going to steal that idea.
I was going to say, one of the other things that I really liked about this, that they talked about sort of in brief when they sort of outlined the project, was obviously you're going to have that thing where your heroes grow and evolve throughout the campaign, which it seems to be a standard for all kinds of dungeon delving things. It's been with us for ages. But the other thing they've talked about is that enemies will also grow and change with the game and your story. So if anyone's played Shadow of Mordor, the Lord of the Rings Middle-earth game, where when you kill certain enemies, they have the chance to come back and they hold a grudge against you. They've built that into what they're doing with Bardsung. So you may kill that orc warlord, but you might not actually kill him, and he may come back in a future thing with, some wounds or something, but he'll have a grudge against the person who landed the killing blow or something. And that's where they're trying to tie in this idea of the bards and singing tales and developing a narrative behind it, which I think is really cool. Again, the proof will be in the pudding for a lot of all these things, especially with a big sprawling dungeon delver like this one. But it certainly sounds like a fascinating concept. And it also seems like it'll be a good medium between people who want to play a straight up board game and those people who want to do role playing games. And this sort of fits into the middle, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see.
So we need to get our coconuts out.
Yep.
Brave, they're open. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool stuff there.
Okay, what's next?
Next up, we've got some Infinity news, and this is that some little sneaky previews went up for what's happening in November with their releases. So for people who don't know, there are a couple of different ways for you to play Infinity. You can either play it as its standard form with the big rulebook and all that kind of thing, or you can play a slimmed down version of it called Code 1, which is a very cool way of playing the game that has been designed for newcomers, but also for people who are veterans as well, if they want to just dive in and play things quickly on the tabletop. Adding into Code 1 next month are going to be 4 new tags, which are their badass walkers that want to, cause destruction and mayhem on the tabletop. You've got the Zeta unit here, which is for the O12 faction, which is one of the newer factions within the world of Infinity. Looking very cool, very police-like, which is pretty cool. There's the Shazvasti Special Armored Corps Sphinx, which is for the combined army there. Again, looking very awesome. Got a little bit more of that sort of organic style to it, which I think is really nice. The next one, though, is my favorite, and it's for Yujing, and it's the Blue Wolf Mongol Cavalry. Wow. And the thing I really liked about this one, apart from the wolf head, which I think is just amazing on the tag, but I love that you can see the arms of the pilot outside of the suit. So it has that super anime manga feel to it, which obviously Infinity is built on, which I think is really nice. And it just looks like an utter badass. And I would love to see someone painting this up with a lot more sort of battle damage and that kind of thing on it. It would be very, very cool indeed. And the final tag is the Cutters, which is for Pan-Oceania. So if you want a little bit more of a standard-looking tag that you may have seen in the past from Infinity, then you've got that option in there as well. Some little information about the Cutter that I found out when I was researching it. This has actually been designed for stealth tech and aquatic assaults. How you're stealthy in this, that's where science comes in. But there you go. Very cool. But yeah, if you're diving into Code 1, which is the slightly more sort of like quick and easy version of Infinity, then this allows you to go that extra step and throw some really awesome models into the mix as well. This doesn't mean that you can't use these in normal Infinity. Of course you can. all that blends together, which is really nice. So make sure to go and check that out and see what you think. Coming out sort of like mid-November next year.
This is freaking me out. It's too much like Guato.
Guato.
No. Is it not Guato from...
Guato?
No.
Oh, you're thinking of Total Recall?
Yes, Total Recall.
Oh, right.
It's just like my mind's opening up here. Just staring at it.
Right, next up we have some World War III news, Ben.
Yes, we do. So, keeping with the theme of pre-orders for November, the guys at Battlefront Miniatures have now got World War III Team Yankee options available for those people diving into it as the Soviets. So if you want to lead the glorious Soviet Union forward into Europe so that you can free the workers and all that kind of thing, all that jazz.
All that jazz, man.
Yeah, they probably don't like jazz, but there we go.
Free the workers to come and work in our factories instead.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes. But it'll be better, I promise. But yeah, so this is a whole bunch of new Soviet stuff. You're going to get a new book, which will contain all the information for playing these guys out in World War III. And this is then supported by a new starter army, which, as you might imagine, is packed with tanks, as is the way with Team Yankee. And you also get those really awesome helicopters as well, which is very cool.
Hinds, man.
Everybody loves a good Hind. It's very awesome there. And sticking with the idea of making sure that everything is bulked out as much as possible with as many pieces of armor as you can, there are, of course, going to be lots and lots of new tanks and vehicles and support and artillery coming out at the same time as well. They're fleshing this out. Sorry?
P-80s, goodness me.
Yeah, they're going to be fleshing this out just the same as they've done with the US and the British and stuff in the past as well. And this is all going to be available throughout the early and late portions of November with 2 separate releases for a bunch of that stuff. But as we tend to do on the site anyway, we'll be making sure that we let you know at the end of every week or the start of every week when all the new releases come out, and be able to go and check those out because they keep us informed, which is awesome.
Team Yankees developed into an incredible range.
It really is. Yeah. They've done some really nice stuff with this, which is very cool.
The beauty of it is too is all that Team Yankee. If you are interested in your kind of like your moderns and stuff as well, so much of that 80s tech from Team Yankee is end up used by insurgents 20-30 years later, you know, in the Middle East.
Yeah, little pocket dictators.
All them tin pot dictators. This is all the shit that they bought. Like, you know, it's it is just crazy. Awesome stuff there. Awesome stuff. Right. Final piece of news is First Blood. This is the skirmish game for Conquest.
Yeah, so this is some of the Weekender that we planned out in last week's XLBS. But this is the little reminder that the free, and I will repeat that, free rules, skirmish rules, for use in Conquest called First Blood.
For free?
Are now available. A handbag are now available from Para Bellum for you to use when building up your Conquest forces. The idea of this is that you'll be sort of
literally just before you get it, literally bang, there you go, I've got them free. Look at that.
Exactly.
Let's have a look. Yeah,
143 pages for you to flick through for this. So it's not a light tome. It's packed with stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the idea behind this, as you might imagine, is that it allows you to play with smaller forces. With lots of your different warriors that you may have picked up to start your army on the path of conquest, # path of conquest, with us, of course.
So this is why Warren was winking at us a few weeks back then.
Yes.
Saying keep all your
minis. This is why it's like keep them on the round basis.
Keep your minis on the round basis, guys. Keep your minis on the round basis.
So it removes those regiment trays and that kind of thing and throws some more stuff into the mix. One of the cool things about this is that for the people who know Conquest, one of the things is that the sort of leaders have almost like a buffing ability and they have more of a general's role within your games. This gives them a little bit more of that sort of heroic edge, which I think is really awesome, and puts them at the forefront of your games, which is really cool. They'll have all their own rules and you'll be able to build up your characters as you like and develop them and that kind of thing. One of the things that the guys at Para Bellum have been doing recently, especially over the last month or so, is they've been building up this idea of a world of conquest, which is full of interesting and diverse characters for all the different races, and this kind of gives you the same sort of feeling but within your small group if you're going to be playing a big conquest campaign of yourselves, which is pretty cool. It's got loads of stuff in there for all the different rules and breaks down things very nicely, which is very good. But then they've also got huge sections at the back of the book which are full of all the stuff for the different army lists. So whether or not you're playing 100 Kingdoms, Nords, Dweghom, or the Spires, there's loads of stuff there for build up. Yeah. I'm being sick.
The good thing about the rule system that they've done with this is it uses the same core system that Conquest, Last Argument of Kings, use. So you're not learning a new system. You're just adapting one you know. So if people are playing Conquest already and want to try Skirmish, they're not having to learn a whole new Skirmish system.
Yeah.
They're just tweaking what they already know. Yeah. Or vice versa. If you've never played Conquest and don't want to get into the mass battle, you can start with this, and then if you decide that that is the way you're going to go, then you can pick up well, you've already got the trays because they come with it. You just pick up the free rules for Conquest then and just start playing the bigger games.
Yeah, and
I've been looking forward to this now for a long time. Yeah, this is no rush job, this one. They have been working on this for some time. Yeah. And, I just like to see minis have the opportunity to be released from their movement trays, because you can start to play with higher densities of terrain and the likes, and you just get a different experience. It doesn't necessarily mean you're playing with less models. You could still play with a lot of models, but the experience is quite different as they can start to hug terrain and move around elements and things, more free flow. And I've been very excited for this for a long time. I really can't wait to get a chance to try this out.
If someone's sitting on the fence, they could grab this now, use the minis they have to get a flavor of this game.
Yep.
And then if they're liking it, they could jump in and start buying minis. If they play this game, so moving up to the other version of the game should be relatively easy, moving back and forth between them as well.
It is literally just a matter of, but your minis come on a tray, okay? Your minis come on round bases, and then you have a tray with the round base slots in it. So it is literally just a case of, just popping them in the tray, getting your trays together into their larger units, and you can play the larger mass battle game.
And the unit sizes are capped in the Skirmish game. Mm-hmm. So you buy a regiment of 12 generally for standard infantry. So if you pick up a unit of 12 force-grown drones, and then you want to play them in the Skirmish, you decide, well, I might go for 4 guys out of that 12, or 6 or 8 or whatever it is, or the full 12. And if you get the full 12, then things like unit upgrades come in. So standards and the like, I think you get for free if you've got a full 12 unit. So, but it stops at 12. It's not like you're buying them in 12s, but your unit can be up to 20 or that sort of thing. You're going, well, a unit is a unit, whether you choose to take the maximum or the minimum within that scope. You can split them down and have 3 little units of 4 running about poking people with sticks, or just go, no, I'm going to mob up, but then that will change how you tactically you'll be playing your game as well.
I'm going to bring up a page then. So like from this stuff then, see the way these guys roll on their trays?
Yes.
Yep.
So for anybody who's not familiar with it, you play it like that, and then you just pop them off into their individuals. How much of this stuff then do you need to play a game?
Of the Skirmish?
For the Skirmish.
Yeah.
Well, the 2-player starter set, Lloyd, would cover 2 people for playing the Skirmish.
All right, so what we're giving away then? Fantastic.
Yeah, what we're giving away would absolutely cover 2 people to play the Skirmish. And we're also doing the individual starter sets as well if the winner chooses that one. Which gives you a ton that you can play.
One of the things I really like about this is that kind of focus more on the heroes having that sort of impact on the battlefield in a slightly more personal way, which I think is really nice. And it does something that I really like about a lot of these ranges, and especially with a lot of the stuff for Conquest, is that I always look over the range and I see like 1 or 2 miniatures that I really like from their heroes, and then like an elite unit, and I'm like, well, now I've got no excuse not to go and buy that guy and that unit, and then I can use them, kind of thing. Or if you just want to buy a bunch of heroes and just paint them up and have fun with that, so that's what is very cool. Yeah,
it's an epic range. I've got to say, it's an epic range. We'll have to see. But I've like I said, I've been really looking forward to these Skirmish rules, man. It's
I think they're a good thing for any game that wants to try and develop that sort of entry point before taking it, that next step. I think anything, I mean, you've seen Games Workshop doing it for, with Warcry, then flowing into Age of Sigmar. Obviously, we're seeing it here with here now. Having that skirmish level sort of fighting game is really awesome, because it allows you to dip your toe into the world, and then if you want to, take it the next step, or just play that if you want. So it's very cool.
Well, guys, go download it. Rules are free. And remember, you can join the Path of Conquest and come along on this journey with us as we build up our conquest armies at any time. And this gives you an opportunity to start kind of exploring the models really early on in the whole process as well. Right, we're going to take a quick swish. When we're back, we're going to do some Kickstarters.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Okay, Kickstarter time! Who picked the Kickstarters this week? What did you pick?
I did. And I picked 3 rather fascinating ones. 2 of them are traditional miniatures, and one of them is 3D printing. But we'll start with Privateer Press, who are back on Kickstarter with the follow-up to their Warcaster Neo Mechanica launch Kickstarter with a new one called Collision Course. Mm-hmm. So Collision Course is a new addition to the Warcaster Neo Mechanica world, which is their sort of sci-fi take on what we know and love from War Machine and Hordes. Mm-hmm. And this is a sort of big one full of guns and armor and on walkers and all sorts of things like that. Yeah. The new faction that's included as part of this Kickstarter is the Empyreans, who are their sort of like alien race that's being thrown into the mix, with some very cool looking miniatures that sort of blend together that kind of organic and synthetic look, which is very cool. Mm-hmm. The other things they've included with this Kickstarter is they've also included vehicles for all of the different factions. So they've got sort of hover-based vehicles and that kind of thing for all of the factions that you found in the original Kickstarter, as well as stuff for the Empyreans as well. Yeah. On top of that, there's also a new mode for you to play the game in too. Mm-hmm. So if you want to use those miniatures in a different setting other than one where they're just blasting each other to hell because of war, they can now play in what's called a new race mode, where you'll choose a pilot and you'll equip your vehicle and upgrade skills and that kind of thing, and have them, as you might imagine, racing around on the tabletop, blowing 7 shades of hell out of each other, which is pretty awesome. You can see some of the vehicles there, in fact, that are being demonstrated there in those lovely GIFs, or GIFs, as they are meant to be called, apparently.
Oh, no, GIFs. No, don't call them GIFs. I'm on Team GIF. Gotta get a t-shirt.
We're GIFers here, man. We are GIFers. Yeah. You just never ride a giraffe. A giraffe. Oh, no, you've confused me, man. We're going to be talking about gigabits next.
Here we are. As well as the new faction, so the Empyreans, which come with their new core set and a bunch of additional options there too, and the race mode. There's also a new selection of upgrades and ways for you to customize your faction called Faction Ciphers. So they are new cards that will allow you to sort of add a little bit more of a personality to your force. A little bit like the way we saw a lot of cards being used in things like Flames of War to add sort of character and personality to their forces in those games too, Battlefront. As you might imagine with this Kickstarter, it is laden with different options for you to dive into. You can either just go in for that sort of basic level and pick up the Empyreans if you want, or you can go in and pick up just the vehicles, or you can mix things up and pick up all the rules and gubbins and all the other things for playing with the other factions as well. There are lots of different ways for you to get involved in this one, especially if you missed out on Neo Mechanica the first time around. So yeah, if you like the look of this new sci-fi version of the game, make sure to go and check it out. If you're interested in the miniatures and seeing what they look like in the flesh, we do actually have an unboxing and sort of like a first look at the miniatures over on our website as well, which I'll make sure to link down in the description below, where Justin had a little bit of a look at it all and sort of told us his thoughts on them. Very cool.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. That was from the previous set then that came out?
That was from the first set of Neo Mechanica stuff, yes.
Yeah, so happy days. Well, guys, 13 days left on Warcaster Collision Course. So if it's your thing, go and check it out.
Okay, Ben, what's next?
So next up, we're changing and also talking about a sculptor called Tom Mason, who's done stuff for the likes of Megacon in the past and also Reaper Miniatures. He's also familiar for a lot of people who buy miniatures from that range. And this is his Goblin Menace Kickstarter. And I picked these because for some reason, regardless of the fact that I love dwarves, I seem to really, really like goblins as much as I should hate them. But there you go. These are some of the cutest looking goblins that I have ever seen, and they just look adorable. You can either buy them as like a little tiny band of skirmishing goblins, or you can buy them as a full menace. The look of them is just beautiful, I think would be the word for it. I think it's really great. Someone on the website did say, where are their noses? And I was like, well, now you can't get them cut off, which is a good way of thinking about it. So,
do you know what they look like? There's a kind of amphibian that these things look like.
Is it the axolotls or whatever they're called?
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, look at that! It's exactly like that.
It's a real life goblin.
It totally looks like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so the cool thing with this is that within each of the different sort of sections, you can get sort of goblins armed with hand weapons, bows and arrows, and also sort of like rocks and that kind of thing as well. And there are 4 different variants of each of the different sculpts within those sets, and then they give you a bundle of all of those for you to use in your games. I think if you're going to be trying to do some sort of gaming, and is suggested as part of this in things like Age of Magic and that kind of thing, these would be very cool for that. Maybe if you're diving into something like Oathmark and you want to do a slightly sort of quirky and different force, that would be really cool. The thing that I think would be really fun is that if you picked up a couple of different sets of these, so you bought loads and loads of them and a couple of different monsters, painted them up all in different colours, so you had like different goblin tribes, and then play a game where they're all just fighting each other underground for control. I think that'd be really awesome. Yeah. And then you've got there's also some little fun miniatures that they're thrown into the mix as well. So as part of the stretch goals, you can get an apple thief and the Brat Princess, as she's called. So if you wanted to sort of dive into the sort of comic element of things, you've got those options too. I think these will be really fun to paint. If you like your goblins and you want something a little bit different, I think it's well worth going to check this one out. As I say, from a well-known sculptor who is big in the business, so go and see what he's been doing there. Very
delightfully cartoony. They remind me an awful lot of the Gremlins from Weird.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, that sort of feel. That would Baby Yoda, one or the other.
The other sort of style that I thought was really nice for these is they kind of have a little bit more of a comic look to them, but they look like the Pathfinder goblins, if you know those from the sort of the revamp they gave them. It's very cool. So
lovely stuff. Right, guys, 7 days left of the Goblin Menace, so you still have a little bit of time to get stuck in. And then we're going to do one more, Ben, yeah?
Yes, so we're going to do one more. And this was one that was recommended to us last week as well. So this is the Azadi Death Front. And this is a Kickstarter for all female battle-hardened warriors for you to use in your grimdark sci-fi games. This is by 40 Emperor. As Jerry has once said to me, look what they did there. Cunning. Very good. This is an option for you to build up a selection of Imperial Guard with a little bit of a twist to them. They've actually been based on sort of real-world historical sort of female militia fighters, which is pretty awesome, as you can see there in that picture.
Yeah.
And they've been designed as well so that they're not sort of like hyper-sexualized like you see a lot of female miniatures from the past and that kind of thing, which I think is a really nice step in the right direction. With this, you can pick up a bunch of characters. So you've got sergeants and captains, banner bearers and that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of troopers for you to build up your squads, all of them armed with various weapons, but sort of all based around the idea of that sort of standard last gun sort of feel, which is pretty cool. There's also gun emplacements you can buy, vehicles as well, which is really cool. They've listed these as 34mm heroic scale pre-supported miniatures. So as you might imagine, you need to 3D print these off at home or get a buddy to do it for you, which I always think is a nice way of thinking about things. Make someone else do all the hard work. That's how Warren does most of his hobby. So
yeah, that's not true. 2020's been a whole different experience.
It has been. Yeah. If you are interested in the 3D printing element of these and you want to see how the files actually pan out, they do have a free miniature that you can print off listed at the top of their Kickstarter page. So you can go and see what you think of it, print it off at home and sort of get a sort of feel for how it all works and that kind of thing. And then maybe dive in and do the rest of the range as well.
I have it here. I downloaded it. Can you see it?
We can see it. There you go.
There's a support element.
So it's a kneeling sort of special weapons trooper, which is very cool. And as you can see, all the support's in there.
I like the weapons being massively oversized.
Yes, it's very 40k.
It's very 40k.
Yeah.
It's like these are made for bigger people. If you want to use it, we need to put an additional handle on the side.
Yeah.
So I imagine the SPAC Marines probably firing that one-handed.
Yeah. The thing I like about these is that they kind of, obviously, while having those unique qualities to them, they are very much in line with a lot of stuff from 40k. So if you wanted to build something that was sort of easy to blend into your force, you can do that. If you're doing something like, because of their sort of nature of the way they've been designed to match those real world sort of militia fighters, they'd kind of work in that kind of Talaran, is it Talaran or Talahan? I can't remember how you say the name.
Talaran Desert Raiders.
Yeah, you could use it with the Desert Raiders. Yeah, you could do that.
But wouldn't it be cool, like you know, your backstory there is, all of the men were recruited, basically kidnapped and taken away to fight, which basically just left the females behind.
Yeah.
A bit of a Walking Dead vibe off that as well.
Yeah, also like the Honor Bugeisha from Japanese history as well. The sort of like women warriors who were taught to fight to defend their homes and stuff. Very cool.
I really like this. Look, I'd like to try these out myself and see what they're like. Right, guys, 5 days left for the Azadi Death Front. Really nice stuff. And I've got to say, I'm a big fan of the vehicles that have been popping up in this as well. Cool stuff. Right, we're done for another week. Remember, get your comment in, hit the subscribe button, ding that little bell, because the subscribe button does bugger all on its own these days. Ding the bell, and remember to share and post a comment. That's a lot we ask you to do to enter a prize, but the prize is epic. So a big thank you to the team for another wonderful guide through a week in gaming. But most of all, a massive thank you to you guys at home for watching. And we hope to see as many of you as possible over on OnTableTop.com on Sunday morning to watch XLBS, the ultimate Sunday morning gaming TV.
And we promise we won't plan out next week's Weekender on this weekend's.
I'm not promising. Yeah. I'm not promising so well last week.
We could be on to something here. Right, guys? Cheerio. Bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.